Come on, black girl, show everybody what you've got. Sergeant Brent Holloway sneered as he ripped a pair of boxing gloves from the corner and hurled them into Naomi Carter's chest. One bounced off her shoulder while several officers burst into laughter. Holloway pointed at the canvas. Pick them up. Unless getting into this ring is too much for you. Naomi slowly bent down. Officer Kyle Maddox leaned against the ropes, grinning. Look at her, Brent. She probably watched 2 boxing videos online and suddenly thinks she can fight. More laughter. Then Holloway stepped closer and deliberately kicked Naomi's second glove across the canvas. People like you love demanding respect, he mocked. Tonight, you're going to learn respect is earned. Serena Carter moved toward the ropes. That's enough, Holloway laughed. Relax, sweetheart. You can be next. The bell rang. Holloway charged and launched a powerful right. Naomi slipped aside effortlessly. His fist struck nothing. The room went silent. Retired trainer Leonard Price suddenly stood in the second row, staring at Naomi's footwork in disbelief. He recognized her. Naomi caught his gaze and subtly shook her head. Don't tell them. Because Holloway had just humiliated a woman whose real identity could silence the entire gym, and Serena was hiding another secret. Stay with this story until the truth comes out. Comment your city and local time below, and subscribe if you believe arrogance should never be stronger than dignity. 8 hours before Sergeant Brent Holloway threw those gloves at her, Naomi Carter was standing on a ladder beneath a leaking ceiling. Morning sunlight slipped through the dusty windows of East Harbor Community Boxing Center in Baltimore. The building was old, paint peeled from the walls. Several heavy bags had been repaired with layers of black tape, but to Naomi, the place was worth saving. She climbed down and examined the bucket beneath the leak. Still dripping? Serena Carter asked. Naomi smiled faintly. Only when it rains. It rained 3 days ago. Exactly. Serena shook her head. At 31, Serena carried herself differently from most people who entered the gym. Her movements were economical. Her shoulders stayed relaxed. Her eyes automatically measured doors, corners, distances. Nobody there knew why. To everyone attending that afternoon's charity event, she was simply Naomi's younger sister visiting Baltimore while on leave from the military. Naomi preferred it that way. She had secrets of her own. The sisters walked toward the ring. Tonight's fundraiser, Fight for the Block, was supposed to determine whether the center survived another year. Local businesses, firefighters, police officers, and residents had volunteered for exhibition boxing matches. Naomi needed nearly $40,000. Without it, the center would close before winter. She looked around at the worn equipment. This place gave people somewhere to stand when the rest of the city kept knocking them down, Naomi said quietly. I'm not letting it disappear. Serena studied her sister. You've already spent too much of your own money. Probably. You sold your car. I bought another one. That thing barely starts. It starts eventually. Serena laughed. Then the front doors opened. Several uniformed officers entered. At their center walked Sergeant Brent Holloway. Broad-shouldered and muscular, Holloway carried himself like the entire building had been waiting for him. Behind him came Officer Kyle Maddox and several colleagues. Holloway had competed successfully in Baltimore's amateur boxing circuit, and everyone around him knew it. He made certain of that. There he is, someone called. Holloway raised both hands. Try not to get too excited. People laughed. Naomi continued adjusting a loose turnbuckle. Holloway noticed her. He walked toward the ring carrying a white towel. Hey. Naomi looked over. Holloway tossed the towel toward her. It landed across her forearms. Corner's dirty, he said, pointing toward the canvas. Wipe it down before my match. Naomi stared at the towel. Serena stopped moving. Naomi climbed through the ropes and handed it back. Cleaning supplies are in the storage room. Holloway frowned. I wasn't asking where they were. I know. Maddox chuckled. Brent, I think she just told you to clean it yourself. Holloway looked around. 2 officers were watching. So were several volunteers. His expression changed. What exactly do you do here? He asked. Whatever needs doing. Then the ring needs cleaning. Naomi held his chaza. The volunteers already cleaned it. Holloway stepped closer. And I'm telling you it isn't good enough. Serena moved forward. Naomi lifted one hand without looking at her. Stay back. It was a gesture Serena understood immediately. Holloway noticed it too. He smiled. Oh, I get it, tough sisters. Maddox laughed. Naomi turned back toward the ropes. Holloway wasn't finished. You ever actually boxed? He asked. Or do you just hang around fighters long enough to feel important? Naomi paused. Leonard Price, a 70-year-old retired trainer arranging chairs near ringside, looked up at those words. Naomi didn't turn around. A little, she said. Leonard froze. Something about her voice bothered him. He studied Naomi's shoulders, then her stance. There was something familiar there. Holloway laughed. A little. He climbed onto the ring apron. That's what everybody says until somebody hits them. Naomi finally faced him. This is a fundraiser, Sergeant. People came here to support the neighborhood. And maybe make tonight about them. The smile disappeared from Holloway's face. Maddox gave a low whistle. Serena could see exactly what had happened. Naomi hadn't insulted him. That was the problem. She had refused to be impressed by him. Holloway stepped down. We'll see how confident you are later. He walked away. Naomi returned to the turnbuckle. Serena approached her. He doesn't like you. He doesn't know me. That has never stopped insecure men before. Naomi almost smiled. Across the gym, Holloway spoke quietly with Maddox. Who is she? Maddox checked the event sheet. His eyebrows lifted. Naomi Carter. She's one of the organizers. Holloway glanced toward the ring. The organizer? Looks like it. Holloway's jaw tightened. He had thrown a towel at the woman, helping run the event, and ordered her to clean his corner. Several people had witnessed it. Maddox grinned. Forget it. But Holloway wasn't embarrassed anymore. He was angry. No. He picked up the evening's match schedule. His eyes moved toward the final exhibition slot. Empty. Then he looked back at Naomi. If she wants to act tough in a boxing gym, he said quietly, maybe we should give everybody a chance to see how tough she really is. Maddox smiled. Across the room, Naomi had no idea that Holloway was already turning a charity event meant to save her community center into something personal. But Leonard Price was still watching her. And the longer he watched, the more a memory from years ago began clawing its way back. A packed arena, a championship night, and a fighter they once called Nightfall. By 6 that evening, East Harbor Community Boxing Center barely looked like the tired building Naomi had been repairing that morning. Every folding chair was occupied. Neighbors crowded along the walls. Local shop owners stood beside firefighters, teachers, construction workers, and uniformed officers. Music rolled through old speakers while volunteers carried donation buckets between rows. For Naomi, every dollar mattered. She stood near the registration table, checking totals while Serena helped an elderly couple find seats. Across the gym, Brent Holloway was enjoying himself. His first exhibition opponent lasted less than 2 rounds. When the referee stopped the match, Holloway climbed onto the ropes and raised both gloves as if he had won a championship. Officers near ringside shouted his name. Naomi glanced over once, then returned to the donation sheet. That irritated him more than any insult could have. Minutes later, Holloway approached while still wearing his gloves. Didn't watch? Naomi looked up. I was working. You missed a good fight. I heard everybody. Holloway smiled without warmth. Maybe you'll pay attention next time. He walked away before she could answer. Serena appeared beside Naomi carrying 2 bottles of water. He's trying very hard to impress you. He'll survive the disappointment. Serena almost laughed. Near ringside, Leonard Price heard the exchange. The retired trainer had spent 40 years studying fighters. Most people watched fists. Leonard watched feet, shoulders, breathing, and eyes. And Naomi Carter bothered him. Earlier, when Holloway had confronted her, Naomi had never squared herself aggressively. Yet her left foot had shifted half a step outward. Her chin had lowered. Her hands had remained loose but perfectly positioned. Those weren't accidental movements. Leonard had seen them somewhere before. The next exhibition ended, and the announcer called for a short fundraising challenge. A heavy bag was rolled beneath a digital punch meter. Holloway immediately volunteered. He slammed a right hand into the bag. The machine flashed a high number. The crowd cheered. Maddox grabbed the microphone. Anybody think they can beat Sergeant Holloway? Several people laughed and shook their heads. Then Maddox looked directly toward Naomi. How about our fearless organizer? Naomi continued counting donation envelopes. Maddox raised his voice. Naomi Carter, come show us what you've got. Heads turned. Serena's expression cooled. Naomi closed the envelope box and walked closer, not toward the bag, but toward the microphone. This event isn't about proving who's strongest, she said. It's about keeping these doors open. A few people applauded. Holloway stepped beside the bag. That's a nice speech. Naomi looked at him. But speeches don't move the meter. Neither does ego. The crowd reacted with a mixture of laughter and surprised murmurs. Holloway's face tightened. He slapped the heavy bag. 1 punch. No. Afraid? No. Then prove it. Naomi's voice remained calm. I don't need to. That answer landed harder than a punch. Maddox laughed into the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, apparently courage has office hours. Several officers laughed. Serena took 1 step forward. Naomi caught her eye. Not yet. Leonard saw that exchange. Again, something stirred in his memory. He approached Naomi after the challenge ended. "Excuse me." She turned. "Leonard Price," he said. "I know who you are." That surprised him. "You do? You trained fighters at Monument Street. For 32 years. I remember." Leonard studied her face. "Have we met before?" Naomi's eyes softened for just a second. "A long time ago." Before Leonard could ask more, Holloway's voice boomed from the ring. "Let's keep this thing moving." Naomi walked away. Leonard remained still. A long time ago. He searched his memory. Then he noticed Naomi kneeling beside a teenage volunteer whose hand wraps had loosened. She retied them quickly. Loop around the wrist, across the palm, between the fingers. Thumb secured last. Leonard's breath caught. He knew that wrapping pattern. Years earlier, one fighter had insisted on doing it exactly that way before every professional bout. But that woman had vanished from boxing. Leonard looked harder at Naomi. No, it couldn't be. Meanwhile, Holloway had won another exhibition. This time, he didn't celebrate immediately. He pointed across the gym. At Naomi. "You keep telling everybody tonight isn't about proving anything," he called. The room quieted. "So let's make it interesting." Naomi didn't move. Holloway took the microphone from Maddox. "We've got one final exhibition slot tonight." Serena looked toward the schedule board. The final slot had been empty that morning. Not anymore. Someone had written "special volunteer" across it. Naomi's eyes narrowed. Holloway continued. "We've seen cops fight. We've seen firefighters fight. We've seen local amateurs fight." He smiled toward Naomi. "But the woman running this place keeps telling us strength isn't the point." Maddox chuckled beside him. "So maybe she can teach us." A few people laughed, but many didn't. The mood had changed. This no longer felt playful. Naomi walked toward the ring. "Brent." It was the first time she used his first name. "Don't turn a fundraiser into something ugly." Holloway leaned over the ropes. "I'm offering you a friendly exhibition." "No, you're trying to embarrass me because I wouldn't clean your corner." Whispers spread through the crowd. Holloway's smile disappeared. "You calling me a liar?" "I'm telling you to remember why everyone came here." For several seconds, neither moved. Then Holloway lifted the microphone again. "Final match of the night," he announced. "Sergeant Brent Holloway versus our special volunteer." The crowd murmured. Serena stepped beside Naomi. "You don't have to do this." "I know." Across the room, Leonard suddenly remembered a newspaper photograph from 13 years earlier. Same eyes. Same stillness. Same stance. And suddenly he remembered the name printed beneath it. Naomi Nightfall Carter. Leonard stared at her. If he was right, Holloway hadn't just challenged the wrong woman. He had challenged someone who had spent years making sure nobody remembered exactly how dangerous she once was. And somewhere beneath Naomi's calm expression, an old instinct awakened. One she had buried with the belts, cameras, crowds, and championship nights forever. The announcement hung over the gym. Sergeant Brent Holloway versus our special volunteer. Naomi Carter stared at the handwritten words on the schedule board. Special volunteer. Someone had decided for her. Holloway climbed through the ropes and raised the microphone again. "Come on, Naomi, it's charity. Give these people a show." Naomi remained beside Serena. "No. One word. Calm. Finau." Holloway laughed. "That's it?" "That's it." Maddox leaned against the ring apron. "Funny. She had plenty to say earlier." Several officers laughed. Naomi heard them. So did the families who trained there every week. Serena stepped closer to her sister. "He wants you angry." "I know." "Then don't give him anything." Naomi nodded. She turned toward the donation table. Holloway wasn't willing to let her leave. "Wait." The microphone amplified his voice across the building. "You run a boxing gym, don't you?" Naomi stopped. "I help run a community center." "With a boxing ring?" "Yes." "And you tell people here about courage?" Naomi slowly turned around. Holloway smiled. "Then here's your chance to demonstrate some." The laughter was weaker this time. People were beginning to understand what he was doing. Naomi looked around the gym. Some of the teenagers who trained there were watching. That mattered more than Holloway. "Courage isn't accepting every fight somebody offers you," Naomi said. Holloway nodded theatrically. "Convenient. Sometimes courage is walking away. That's what scared people call it." Serena's jaw tightened. Naomi remained still. The event coordinator, Rachel Bennett, hurried toward the ring. "Sergeant, we have other activities scheduled." Holloway lowered the microphone. "Rachel, people donated to watch exhibitions. Naomi isn't registered to fight. Registration can be amended. Not without her consent." Holloway glanced toward several uniformed colleagues. Then back at Rachel. "We're responsible for security tonight. If people start crowding the ring because the schedule falls apart, That becomes a safety problem. Rachel stared at him. The threat was subtle, but unmistakable. Naomi heard it. If Holloway decided the event had become unsafe, he could create enough disruption to shut it down. And if tonight failed, the center might not survive. Naomi walked toward the ring. You're using your badge to get a boxing match. Holloway's smile vanished. Careful. No, you be careful. The room became silent. You came here representing people who trusted you, Naomi continued. Don't make them regret it because somebody told you no. A firefighter near the back nodded. Holloway noticed. His pride hardened into anger. Maddox stepped forward. Maybe your sister wants to try. Serena looked at him. No. Maddox laughed. Runs in the family. Serena said nothing. He moved closer. What happened? Military teach you to stand behind your big sister? Several people murmured. Serena's eyes changed. Not dramatically, but Naomi saw it. Serena. Her sister looked toward her. Naomi shook her head. Maddox grinned. That's right. Listen to her. Serena inhaled slowly. Then she said, You should be grateful that I do. Maddox's smile faltered. Holloway laughed from inside the ring. Everybody's dangerous until the bell rings. He reached toward the corner and grabbed a pair of red gloves. Naomi saw what was coming. Don't. Holloway threw them. One struck Naomi's chest. The other dropped near her feet. Gasps replaced laughter. Leonard Price stood immediately. Holloway spread his arm. There's your equipment. Naomi looked down. For 13 years, she had avoided this feeling. The smell of leather, canvas beneath bright lights, crowds waiting for violence. She remembered hospitals, press conferences, championship belts. Then she remembered something quieter. Her mother sitting beside a kitchen window after chemotherapy, telling Naomi that knowing how to fight and knowing when to fight were two different gifts. Naomi bent down. Leonard's heart began pounding. She picked up the first glove. Holloway smiled. There we go. But Naomi wasn't looking at him. She was looking at Leonard. Recognition passed between them. Leonard stepped toward her. Naomi. She crossed the distance before he could say more. Please. His eyes searched hers. Is it really you? Naomi's voice dropped. Not tonight. Leonard stared toward Holloway. He doesn't know. I want to keep it that way. That man thinks you're afraid. Naomi looked around the gym. He can think whatever keeps this place open. Leonard shook his head. You haven't changed. Yes, I have. He glanced at the gloves. Your hands might disagree. Naomi almost smiled. Then Holloway called from the ring. Need someone to explain how those work? More laughter from Maddox. Leonard's expression hardened. Naomi touched his arm. Don't tell anyone. Why? Because tonight isn't supposed to be about who I used to be. She walked away. Leonard watched her approach Rachel. If I agree, Naomi said, the fundraiser continues exactly as planned. Rachel looked horrified. You don't owe him this. I know. You don't have to save this building every time somebody threatens it. Naomi glanced toward the teenagers. Maybe not. Then she looked at Holloway. But they shouldn't lose it because one man can't accept no. She approached the ring. Serena caught her wrist. You sure? Naomi nodded. You remember what Mom used to say? Serena's expression softened. Never fight angry. And never fight to humiliate. Naomi climbed onto the apron. The crowd erupted. Holloway bounced on his toes. There she is. Naomi stepped between the ropes. She placed the gloves on the canvas instead of putting them on. I have conditions. Holloway laughed. Of course you do. Licensed referee. Exhibition rules. Protective gear. No cheap shots. The moment either fighter can't intelligently defend themselves, it's over. Holloway stared at her. You expecting to need protection? No. Naomi's answer came so quickly that several people reacted. Holloway's smile tightened. Then Naomi added, I'm making sure you have it. Silence. Serena looked away to hide the beginning of a smile. Leonard closed his eyes. There it was. For 1 second, he heard nightfall again. Holloway stepped close enough that only Naomi could hear him clearly. You've been embarrassing me all night. Naomi met his stare. You did that yourself. His nostrils flared. I'll make you regret stepping through those ropes. Naomi studied him. She could still walk away. Then Holloway glanced toward the teenagers and smirked. Maybe watching their fearless leader hit the floor will teach these kids something useful. That did it. Naomi slowly picked up the gloves. She slid one onto her left hand, then the other. Serena recognized the ritual immediately. Naomi rolled her shoulders once, shifted her left foot, lowered her chin. Leonard whispered from ringside, Oh, Brent. Holloway couldn't hear him. Leonard watched Naomi settle into the stance he remembered from championship nights. You have absolutely no idea what you just asked for. The gym changed the moment Naomi Carter raised her gloves. People stopped talking. Sergeant Brent Holloway stood across from her, rolling his neck while the referee checked both fighters. This is an exhibition, the referee warned. Clean punches, controlled contact. Protect yourselves at all times. When I say break, you break. Naomi nodded. Holloway smiled. Understood. Serena knew that smile. He had no intention of keeping this friendly. Leonard Price stood near ringside, arms folded tightly across his chest. He watched Naomi bounce lightly on her feet. 13 years had passed. Yet the balance remained. The patience remained. Most importantly, the stillness remained. Nightfall had always been most dangerous when she looked completely relaxed. The bell rang. Holloway immediately moved forward. Naomi didn't. He threw a jab. She shifted backward. Another jab. Naomi slipped outside it. Holloway followed with a right hand. Nothing. Naomi had already moved. A few spectators laughed nervously. Holloway reset. Come on, he muttered. Fight. Naomi remained silent. He attacked again. Jab. Right. Left hook. Naomi blocked the jab, rolled beneath the right, then stepped away from the hook. She still hadn't thrown a punch. Maddox shouted from ringside. Stop running. Serena turned toward him. She isn't running. Maddox smirked. Looks like running. Serena watched Naomi angle away from another combination. No, she said quietly. She's measuring him. Maddox's smile weakened. Inside the ring, Holloway heard the crowd beginning to react differently. They weren't cheering his aggression anymore. They were watching Naomi. Every time he attacked, she disappeared from where he expected her to be. He lunged with another right. Naomi slipped outside. Stand still, he snapped. Naomi finally spoke. Why? Laughter broke out. Holloway's face reddened. He charged harder. Naomi moved around him. The referee watched carefully. 30 seconds remained in the round. Holloway cornered Naomi near the ropes. At least, he thought he had. He threw a heavy left hook. Naomi dipped beneath it, pivoted, and suddenly Holloway was the one facing the ropes. She could have hit him. Leonard saw the opening. So did Serena. Naomi didn't take it. Instead, she stepped backward. Holloway turned. For the first time, confusion crossed his face. The bell rang. Naomi walked calmly toward her corner. Holloway remained standing in the center. Maddox approached him. She hasn't landed anything. Holloway pulled out his mouthguard. Because she's scared. Across the ring, Serena handed Naomi water. You're being generous. It's a fundraiser. He isn't treating it like one. I know. Serena lowered her voice. You had him against the ropes. Naomi took a sip. I didn't come here to hurt anybody. Leonard stepped closer. He won't understand restraint. Naomi looked at him. He doesn't need to understand it. Leonard glanced toward Holloway. He might force you to explain. The referee called them back. Second round. Holloway came out faster. His first jab missed. His second grazed Naomi's glove. Then he drove forward with his shoulder. Naomi stumbled one step. The referee immediately intervened. Watch the shoulder. Holloway raised his gloves innocently. Accident. Naomi said nothing. They continued. Holloway threw a combination. Naomi blocked. Then another. She slipped away. The crowd began applauding her defense. That was when Holloway's frustration became anger. He wasn't just failing to dominate her. She was making his aggression look clumsy. He drove Naomi toward the corner again. The referee stepped between them. Break! Naomi immediately lowered her pressure and stepped backward. Holloway didn't. He threw a right hand after the command. The punch came directly toward Naomi's jaw. Serena shot to her feet. Leonard's hands tightened around the ropes. Naomi reacted before anyone could shout. Her head slipped outside the punch. Her left glove snapped forward. Pope! A short jab struck Holloway's face. Before he could react, Naomi pivoted. Her right hand landed cleanly against his chest. Not full power, not even close. But Holloway was already off balance. His heel caught the canvas. He fell backward. The gym exploded. People jumped from their chairs. The referee rushed between them. Naomi immediately walked toward a neutral corner. No celebration. No raised fists. Nothing. Holloway stared upward. Shock replaced anger. He hadn't expected the punch. Worse, he hadn't seen it. The referee counted. 4. Holloway pushed himself up. 5. He reached his feet. I'm fine. The referee examined him. You want to continue? Yes. The bell sounded before they could restart. Round over. Naomi returned to her corner. Holloway stood motionless. Then he slapped the ropes. That was a slip. Nobody answered. He looked toward Maddox. I slipped. Maddox nodded quickly. Yeah. Holloway turned toward the crowd. She didn't knock me down. Naomi removed her mouthguard. Holloway. He looked at her. She extended one glove. It's an exhibition. Let it go. For several seconds, he stared at her offered hand. Then he slapped it away. A murmur rolled through the gym. Naomi slowly lowered her arm. Holloway stepped closer. You got lucky. Okay. Don't okay me. Naomi remained calm. You want me to argue about it? I want another round. The referee approached. This was supposed to be controlled. It is controlled. You punched after the break. Holloway ignored him. Another round. Rachel Bennett appeared near the apron. Brent, maybe we're done. No. Naomi looked toward the donation tables. People were filming now. The atmosphere had changed completely. This was exactly what she had wanted to avoid. She turned toward Holloway. Walk away. His eyes narrowed. You'd like that? Yes. Because you know what happens if I actually start fighting. Serena almost laughed. Leonard didn't. He knew what Naomi was doing. She had spent 2 rounds protecting Holloway from the truth. But Holloway interpreted mercy as weakness. He pointed toward her. One more round. Naomi stared at him. Brent. 1. Naomi looked toward Serena. Her sister gave a tiny nod. Not permission. Understanding. Naomi turned back. Fine. The referee reluctantly signaled for the fighters to prepare. Holloway smiled and raised his gloves. But Naomi didn't return to the stance she had used during the first 2 rounds. Her feet moved closer together. Her shoulders relaxed. Her lead hand lowered slightly. Leonard inhaled sharply. He remembered that stance. It was the stance Naomi Carter had used when she stopped surviving a fight and started controlling it. Serena saw it too. Maddox noticed her expression. What? Serena kept her eyes on the ring. You wanted her to fight back. The referee raised his hand. Holloway bounced impatiently. Serena looked at Maddox. So now she's going to. The bell rang. And for the first time that night, Naomi stepped forward first. Naomi stepped forward. Holloway immediately threw a jab. She slipped outside it and tapped his ribs. Before he could answer, she was gone. Holloway turned. Naomi was already 3 feet away. He attacked again. Jab, right hand, hook. Naomi blocked the first, rolled beneath the second, and pivoted away from the third. Then came another sharp tap to his body. The crowd reacted. Holloway's breathing changed. Fight me. Naomi looked directly at him. I am. He charged. This time, Naomi didn't retreat. She stepped inside his right hand, turned her shoulder, and landed a compact left hook against his protective gear. Holloway staggered sideways. Leonard Price slowly shook his head. She still has it. Serena heard him. She never lost it. Holloway reset and attacked harder. But something had changed. Naomi wasn't merely avoiding him anymore. She controlled where he stood. When Holloway moved left, Naomi cut him off. When he tried moving right, she closed the angle. When he attempted to trap her against the ropes, she pivoted and put him exactly where she wanted him. The audience began realizing what they were watching. This wasn't luck. It wasn't athletic instinct. It was mastery. Near ringside, a young man pulled out his phone. What's her name again? Naomi Carter. He searched. Most results showed the community center. Then he found something older, a broken archived sports page. He stared at the screen. No way. Inside the ring, Holloway heard another wave of applause after Naomi avoided 4 consecutive punches. His face reddened. He rushed forward and attempted to smother her against the ropes. The referee shouted, "Keep it clean." Holloway ignored him. He drove his forearm into Naomi's shoulder. Break! Naomi stepped back. Holloway tried to follow. The referee pushed between them. One more dirty move and I'm stopping this. Holloway glared. She keeps running. Naomi stared at him from behind her gloves. You asked me to show you what I could do. So do something. Naomi's expression changed. All right. The referee restarted them. Holloway threw his right. Naomi parried it. Her jab snapped against his guard. A second jab followed. Then a right to the body. Holloway dropped his elbow. Exactly what Naomi wanted. Her left hook touched the side of his headgear. He stumbled. Naomi stepped away. Holloway swung wildly. Nothing. She countered. Jab. Cross. Body shot. Pivot. Every strike was controlled. Every movement precise. She wasn't trying to hurt him. She was dismantling him. The gym erupted. Holloway's confidence vanished. For the first time, fear appeared behind his anger. He rushed Naomi desperately. She slipped the punch and landed a clean combination. The referee jumped between them. That's it. Holloway tried moving around him. No. The referee pushed him back. Fight's over. The bell rang repeatedly. Naomi immediately lowered her gloves. The crowd rose. Some cheered. Others simply stared. Holloway stood breathing heavily. Naomi walked toward her corner. No celebration. No smile. She began removing her gloves. Behind her, Holloway shouted, "Bull!" The cheers faded. He pointed toward Naomi. She knew exactly what she was doing. Serena stepped closer to the ring. Naomi turned. Holloway ripped off his headgear. "You've fought before." Naomi said nothing. "I knew it." Maddox climbed onto the apron. This whole thing was staged. Rachel stared at him. Brent challenged her. Because she pretended she couldn't fight. Naomi's eyes narrowed. "I never said that." "You said you'd boxed a little." "I did." Holloway laughed bitterly. "A little?" From ringside, Leonard muttered. "Technically true." Maddox heard him. "What does that mean?" Leonard didn't answer. The young man with the phone moved toward his friend. "Look at this." An old photograph filled the screen. The image was grainy. Naomi looked younger. Her hair was different. But the eyes were unmistakable. Below the photograph was part of a headline. "Carter remains undefeated." The rest wouldn't load. Is that her? Before anyone could investigate further, Maddox turned toward Serena. "What about you?" Serena frowned. "What about me?" He climbed through the ropes. "Your sister embarrassed a cop in front of everybody." "No," Serena replied. "He embarrassed himself." A few spectators reacted. Maddox's face hardened. "Maybe both Carter sisters came here planning this." Serena laughed once. "Planning what? Being insulted until one of us agreed to your friend's challenge?" Maddox stepped closer. "You've been acting tough all night. I've been standing here." "You military?" Serena's expression became unreadable. "I'm on leave. So you've had some training." "Some." Leonard glanced toward Serena. He recognized that answer. Naomi had used the same one. Maddox smiled. "Then get in the ring." "No." "Why?" "Because I don't want to fight you." Maddox moved closer. "Or because you can't." Serena remained still. He entered her personal space. Naomi immediately stepped toward them. "Back away from my sister." Maddox ignored her. He reached toward Serena's shoulder. Serena moved. It happened so subtly that most spectators didn't understand what they had seen. Her left foot shifted. Her body turned slightly. Her hands rose only inches. Her weight centered. She didn't strike. She didn't threaten him. She simply positioned herself. But one man near the back of the gym suddenly froze. He was tall, silver-haired, perhaps in his late 50s, wearing civilian clothes. His name was Colonel Daniel Reeves. He had arrived quietly 20 minutes earlier after being invited by one of the fundraiser's sponsors. Now he stared at Serena. He recognized that stance. He had seen it hundreds of times. In training facilities, during evaluations, in rooms filled with experienced military personnel who stopped talking whenever the instructor entered. Reeves slowly moved through the crowd. Maddox still hadn't noticed him. "You think that little stance scares me?" he asked Serena. "No." "Good." Serena lowered her hands. "It was meant to protect you." Maddox laughed. Then a voice came from behind him. "Officer." Maddox turned. Colonel Reeves stood only a few feet away. He wasn't looking at Maddox. He was staring at Serena Carter with unmistakable recognition. Serena's expression changed for the first time all evening. "Colonel Nell." Reeves shook his head in disbelief. "Serena Carter." Maddox looked between them. "You know her?" Reeves slowly turned toward him, and the expression on his face wiped the smile completely from Maddox's mouth. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Colonel Daniel Reeves looked at Serena as though he had just found someone he never expected to see in that Baltimore gym. Maddox glanced between them. "You know her?" Reeves didn't answer immediately. "Serena did. We've worked together." That was all she offered. Reeves understood the warning in her eyes. "Not yet." Maddox scoffed. "Small world." He stepped away, pretending the encounter meant nothing. But Holloway had a bigger problem. People were replaying videos of his defeat. Phones were everywhere. Whispers spread through the gym. Naomi Carter wasn't an amateur. Everyone could see that now. Holloway climbed back through the ropes. "Turn the music off." The room gradually quieted. Rachel Bennett approached him. "Brent, your match is over." "No, we have a liability issue." Naomi looked up. "A liability issue?" Holloway pointed at her. "She entered an exhibition without disclosing professional experience." "You challenged her," Rachel said, "because she misrepresented herself." Naomi stepped forward. "I never registered as a fighter." "You told me you'd boxed a little." "You asked a question. I answered it." Holloway laughed bitterly. "That wasn't a little." A few spectators applauded. Holloway turned toward them. "Everybody thinks this is funny until somebody gets seriously injured." Naomi stared at him. "You punched me after the referee called break." His expression tightened. "That isn't what happened." Dozens of phones immediately rose higher. Serena almost smiled. Naomi pointed toward them. "Then I imagine someone recorded it." Holloway looked around. For the first time, he understood how many cameras had captured the match. He changed tactics. As an officer assigned to event security, I can suspend activities if I believe there's an unresolved safety concern. Rachel's face hardened. You wouldn't. If somebody lied about their experience, absolutely. Naomi felt her stomach tighten, not because she feared Holloway, because she understood what he was threatening. The fundraiser, $40,000. A roof that leaked, equipment held together with tape, people who depended on this place. You're threatening to shut down the fundraiser because you lost, Serena asked. I'm doing my job. No, Serena said. You're trying to make your pride look official. The crowd murmured. Maddox stepped toward her. Watch yourself. Serena turned her eyes toward him. Reeves moved closer. Maddox noticed. He stopped. Naomi walked toward Holloway. What do you want? The truth. About? Your boxing history. Naomi was silent. That silence gave Holloway confidence. Exactly. Leonard Price stepped forward. She has experience. Every head turned. Naomi looked at him. Leonard gave her an apologetic glance. Holloway smiled. How much experience? Leonard hesitated. Professional. The room erupted. Maddox pointed toward Naomi. There! Holloway laughed. She deceived everyone. No, Leonard replied. She tried repeatedly not to fight you. Holloway ignored him. You knew she was professional? I recognized her tonight. And you said nothing? She asked me not to. Holloway turned triumphantly toward the crowd. So they were hiding it. Naomi stepped between him and Leonard. Leave him out of this. Why, because your story is falling apart? My story hasn't changed. Holloway pointed toward the ring. You entered that ring knowing you had professional training. You threw gloves at me after I repeatedly refused. You could have walked away. And you threatened the event? Rachel spoke immediately. He did. Holloway looked at her. Rachel didn't retreat. You implied there could be a security shutdown if Naomi didn't cooperate. Several volunteers nodded. Holloway's confidence flickered. Maddox stepped in. That's not what Brent meant. A voice came from the audience. We heard him. Another followed. So did I. Then another. Holloway looked around. The room he had controlled an hour earlier was turning against him. Naomi spoke quietly. Stop now. Holloway faced her. You'd love that. I would. Because you don't want them knowing who you really are. Naomi's expression remained still, but Holloway saw something. He grabbed it. That's it, isn't it? Serena moved toward her sister. Naomi, Holloway continued. You're hiding something. Leonard closed his eyes. Holloway turned toward Rachel. I want her full competition record. You don't have the authority to demand that. Then I'll document an undisclosed professional fighter participating in an amateur charity exhibition and recommend this event be suspended pending review. Naomi stared at him. The threat was no longer subtle. He would risk destroying the center simply to avoid admitting he had challenged someone better than him. Serena leaned toward Naomi. Don't let him force you. Naomi looked around. At the damaged ceiling, the old ring, the teenagers standing silently near the wall. Then at Holloway. What happens if you get the record? He smiled. We find out what you've been hiding. And the fundraiser continues? If everything checks out. Rachel shook her head. Naomi, don't negotiate with this. But Naomi had already made her decision. She turned toward Leonard. He knew what she was about to say. Don't. Naomi gave him a tired smile. 13 years was a pretty good run. Leonard stepped closer. You don't owe him your past. No. She looked toward the teenagers. But I owe them a future. The words silenced him. Holloway crossed his arms. Well? Naomi looked toward the young man who had already found the archived photograph. Then toward the projection screen used earlier to display donation totals. Finally, she faced Leonard. If that's what it takes to protect this place. She paused. Show them. Leonard stared at her. Everything. Naomi nodded. Everything. For the first time that night, Holloway smiled confidently again. He thought he had finally cornered her. He imagined an embarrassing record. A few regional fights. Maybe some losses Naomi didn't want people discussing. Leonard walked slowly toward the laptop connected to the projector. The young man handed him the archived page. Leonard began typing. Serena stood beside Naomi. You ready for this? No. You want me to stop it? Naomi looked at Holloway. He was whispering to Maddox, both men smiling. No. Leonard found the record. His hand stopped on the mouse. The projector flickered. The donation total disappeared. A black screen replaced it. Then an old photograph appeared. A younger Naomi stood beneath arena lights wearing boxing gloves, sweat across her face, one championship belt wrapped around her waist and another raised above her head. The gym fell completely silent. Holloway's smile disappeared. Below the photograph, white letters slowly came into focus. Naomi Nightfall Carter. Holloway stared at the screen. Then another line appeared. Former professional champion, and Leonard hadn't even opened the page containing her complete record yet. Nobody laughed anymore. The photograph of Naomi Carter filled the projection screen. Naomi Nightfall Carter, former professional champion. Holloway stared upward as Leonard Price opened the archived record. More photographs appeared. Naomi beneath arena lights. Naomi raising a championship belt. Naomi standing across from professional fighters Holloway had once watched on television. Then came the numbers. Fight after fight. Victory after victory. Championship defenses. Years near the top of her division. Holloway slowly looked toward Naomi. You were a champion? Naomi removed the tape from one wrist. Yes. Maddox stepped closer to the screen. A real professional champion? Leonard turned toward him. There wasn't anything fake about Nightfall. He pointed toward one photograph. I watched that fight from ringside. The audience remained silent. Leonard looked at Naomi. She didn't just win fights. She controlled them. Holloway swallowed. Memories of the previous round suddenly became humiliatingly clear. Naomi hadn't struggled against him. She had protected him. You knew exactly what you were doing in there, he said. Naomi met his eyes. I tried telling you I didn't want to fight. Holloway looked away. A woman near the front raised her voice. Why did you quit? Naomi's expression changed. The gym became quieter. She looked at the photograph of her younger self. I didn't quit because I lost. Leonard lowered his head. Naomi continued. My mother got sick. Serena looked toward the floor. She needed treatment. She needed someone with her. Boxing suddenly stopped feeling important. Naomi paused. So I left. Someone asked, You never came back? No. Why? Naomi looked around the worn gym. Because eventually I found something worth fighting for that didn't require hitting anybody. The words settled over the room. Rachel Bennett wiped at her eyes. Leonard spoke. She walked away while she was still near the top. Holloway stared at him. You mean she could have kept fighting? Absolutely. Leonard looked toward Naomi. She chose her family instead. The projector changed again. A photograph showed Naomi's mother standing beside two younger Carter sisters. Naomi quickly looked away. Serena reached for her hand. The crowd finally understood. Naomi hadn't hidden her history because she was ashamed. She had stopped needing strangers to know it. After her mother's death, much of what Naomi had saved went into East Harbor Community Boxing Center. The repaired heavy bags, the subsidized memberships, the equipment nobody knew she had purchased herself, even the failing roof. Holloway looked around. You paid for this place? Some of it. Rachel corrected her. A lot of it. Naomi sighed. Rachel. No. They should know. Rachel faced the crowd. She sold her car last year when our heating system failed. Serena folded her arms. I told you that was ridiculous. A small wave of laughter moved through the room. For the first time all night, it wasn't cruel. Naomi smiled faintly. Then Maddox spoke. So what? Serena's smile vanished. Maddox realized everyone was looking at him. He continued anyway. So she's a former champion. Fine. That doesn't make everything tonight acceptable. Holloway glanced at him. Even he seemed uncertain now. Maddox pointed toward Serena. And what about her? Serena stared at him. What about me? You've been standing there all night acting like you're the dangerous one. Naomi stepped forward. Leave her out of this. No. Maddox's pride had taken over. Your sister had her big reveal. Let's hear yours. Serena almost looked amused. I don't have one. From behind the crowd came a voice. Yes, you do. Colonel Daniel Reeves stepped forward. The room parted for him. Serena closed her eyes briefly. Colonel. Reeves stopped several feet away. You really weren't going to tell anybody? There was nothing to tell. Maddox laughed. What? She did basic training 20 years ago? Reeves turned toward him. No. One word erased Maddox's smile. Reeves looked back at Serena. I first met her during an advanced training evaluation. Serena shook her head. Danielle, you've spent all evening protecting everybody else's pride. His voice softened. Maybe stop protecting theirs. Maddox crossed his arms. What's that supposed to mean? Reeves faced him. It means Sergeant Carter wasn't standing behind her sister because she was afraid of you. Maddox froze. Sergeant? Serena's eyes narrowed slightly. Reeves continued. She spent years working in military combat training. The gym became silent again. Holloway stared at Serena. Maddox forced a laugh. So she's a fitness instructor? Reeves's expression hardened. No. He stepped closer. She trained experienced service members in close-quarters combat, defensive tactics, restraint, and survival under pressure. Maddox's face changed. Serena said quietly, That's enough. Reeves nodded. For the moment, but Maddox couldn't stop himself. If she's so good, why wouldn't she get into the ring? Serena looked directly at him. Because knowing how to fight makes me less interested in proving it. Several people applauded. Maddox flushed. You expect me to believe all this because he says so? Reeves stared at him. You don't recognize me, do you? No. That doesn't surprise me. Maddox took another step toward Serena. Then prove it. Naomi immediately moved forward. Serena raised one hand. She didn't need protection. Reeves watched Maddox with growing disbelief. Officer, I strongly recommend you stop. Maddox ignored him. He looked at Serena. 1 round. No. Scared? No. Then why not? Serena stepped closer until only a few feet separated them. Her voice remained almost gentle, because this entire night started when 2 men confused restraint with weakness. Maddox stared at her. Serena continued. My sister gave you every opportunity to understand the difference. Then she glanced toward Holloway. You didn't. She looked back at Maddox. And apparently neither did you. Maddox opened his mouth. Reeves interrupted. Before you challenge Sergeant Carter again, officer, there's something else you should probably know. Serena turned sharply. Colonel Nell. But Reeves was finished protecting Maddox from his own arrogance. He looked directly at him. You want to know what she actually did in the military? Maddox's confidence finally cracked. Reeves nodded toward Serena. Then listen carefully. Colonel Daniel Reeves stepped into the open space beside the ring. You wanted proof, he said. Here it is. Maddox folded his arms, but his confidence was fading. Reeves gestured toward Serena. Sergeant Serena Carter spent years as an advanced combat instructor. She trained experienced military personnel in close-quarters defense, restraint, threat response, and fighting under pressure. The gym went silent. She didn't learn a few moves, Reeves continued. She taught them. Maddox stared at Serena. Serena looked uncomfortable with the attention. Colonel, that's enough. Reeves nodded. Yes, it should have been enough the first time you told him no. That sentence landed hard. Maddox glanced around. Nobody was laughing anymore. Holloway stepped forward. This is getting ridiculous. A woman's voice answered from behind him. No, Sergeant. What's ridiculous is that we're still discussing their qualifications instead of your behavior. Deputy Chief Elaine Foster emerged from the crowd. She had attended the fundraiser in civilian clothes, expecting to spend the evening supporting the neighborhood. Now her expression was cold. Holloway straightened. Chief, I've been watching. Holloway swallowed. Foster looked toward Rachel. I want the videos. Holloway immediately protested. Chief, this whole thing was manipulated. Then the recordings will show that. Phones began rising throughout the gym. I have the first argument, someone called. I recorded the challenge. I've got the punch after the break. Another voice came from the back. I filmed him threatening to shut the event down. Holloway's face drained. Maddox stepped backward. Foster turned toward Naomi. Miss Carter, did you voluntarily register for that exhibition? No. Did Sergeant Holloway challenge you? Yes. Did you refuse? Several times. Rachel stepped beside her. I witnessed it. Foster looked at Holloway. He spoke quickly. She concealed professional experience. Naomi answered before Foster could. I wasn't required to disclose anything because I wasn't scheduled to fight. Holloway pointed toward the screen. She was a champion. And you threw gloves at her, Foster replied. Silence. Then Rachel suddenly remembered something. Wait. She hurried toward the equipment table. Holloway watched her. What? Rachel pulled out a laptop. The official cameras. Naomi frowned. What cameras? We installed 3 for the fundraiser video. Holloway's expression changed. Rachel opened the recording system. 3 camera angles appeared. One faced the ring. One covered the entrance. One covered the donation area. They had recorded everything. Not shaky phone footage. Not fragments. Everything. The towel. The insults. Naomi's refusals. Holloway's threat. The glove thrown into her chest. His punch after the referee called break. Maddox's confrontation with Serena. Foster watched without speaking. When the footage ended, she closed the laptop. Holloway tried one final time. Chief, I can explain. Not here. His jaw tightened. I'm being disciplined because I lost a boxing match? No. Foster stepped closer. You're being removed from this event because you repeatedly used your position to pressure civilians after they refused you. Holloway looked around. Nobody defended him. Then a middle-aged shop owner stood. Chief? Foster turned. The man hesitated. He did something similar at our neighborhood festival last year. Holloway's head snapped toward him. That's a lie. Another person raised her hand. No, it isn't. She owned a restaurant 3 blocks away. He threatened to pull officers from our event after my manager told him he couldn't enter a restricted area. Then another voice. And another. Small stories. Separate incidents. The same pattern. Holloway stared around the room as years of silence began collapsing around him. Foster's expression hardened. "Sergeant Holloway, effective immediately, you're suspended from community event duty pending an internal investigation." The words hit harder than Naomi's punches had. "Chief, your supervisor will contact you tonight." She turned toward Maddox. "You're removed from this event as well. Your conduct will be reviewed." Maddox's face went pale. Neither man spoke. Naomi stood beside Serena. There was no smile on either sister's face. Holloway noticed. Perhaps that bothered him most. He approached Naomi slowly. Foster moved between them. Naomi raised a hand. "It's okay." Holloway looked at her. "You happy now?" "No." That answer confused him. "You humiliated me." Naomi stared at him for several seconds. "No, Brent." Her voice was quiet. "You kept asking for chances to walk away." The room became still. "I gave you one when you threw me the towel, another when you challenged me, another when I refused the ring, another when you went after Serena." Holloway said nothing. "You thought restraint meant fear." Naomi stepped closer. "It didn't." She looked toward the ring. "Strength isn't being able to knock somebody down." Then she looked directly into his eyes. "Strength is having the power to hurt someone and choosing not to use it unless you must." Holloway's gaze dropped. Naomi continued. "A badge doesn't make you strong. Gloves don't make me strong. Serena's training doesn't make her strong." Serena watched quietly. "What matters is what you do when somebody gives you power." Nobody moved. Then Leonard Price began clapping. Once, twice. Rachel joined him. Then Serena. Within seconds, the entire gym erupted. Naomi closed her eyes. She hadn't wanted applause. She had wanted $40,000 and another year for the center. Rachel suddenly looked toward the donation screen. Her mouth fell open. "Naomi." Naomi turned. "What?" Rachel pointed. During the confrontation, donations had continued arriving. The number had climbed beyond their original target, and it was still rising. Serena smiled. "Looks like the roof might finally stop leaking." Naomi laughed through tears. Across the gym, Holloway stood beside Maddox, waiting to leave. For the first time that night, he looked smaller without anyone touching him. Foster approached Naomi. "This investigation won't end tonight." Naomi nodded. "I know. If other complaints are verified, there will be consequences." Naomi looked toward Holloway. She didn't want revenge. She wanted accountability. "Then make sure the truth matters tomorrow as much as it matters in this room tonight." Foster nodded. "It will." But none of them yet knew how many people would come forward once the video left that gym, or how completely one night would change East Harbor forever. 3 weeks later, rain fell over Baltimore again. But inside East Harbor Community Boxing Center, there were no buckets beneath the ceiling. The roof had been repaired. New lights illuminated the ring. Fresh heavy bags hung along one wall. The cracked locker room door had been replaced, and a handwritten sign near the entrance announced that membership assistance would remain available for anyone who couldn't afford regular fees. Naomi Carter stood beneath the new ceiling and smiled. "You're staring at it again," Serena said. "I like ceilings that don't leak." "You've mentioned that." "Several times." 23. Naomi laughed. The night of the fundraiser had traveled far beyond East Harbor. Someone uploaded the official footage. Millions watched Holloway throw the gloves. They watched Naomi refuse. They watched him pressure her. They watched the former champion dismantle his confidence without ever trying to humiliate him. But the video created something Naomi hadn't expected. People started talking. A restaurant manager described a previous encounter with Holloway. Then a store owner. Then a neighborhood organizer. Several complaints had never resulted in serious action individually. Together, they revealed a pattern. Deputy Chief Elaine Foster ordered a formal investigation. Holloway was placed on administrative suspension while investigators reviewed reports, body camera records, event complaints, and witness statements. The final findings confirmed multiple incidents of intimidation and misuse of authority. He lost his community relations assignment and faced further departmental discipline. Kyle Maddox was formally reprimanded, removed from public outreach duties, and ordered into retraining focused on de-escalation and professional conduct. For Naomi, accountability was enough. She never asked for revenge. Meanwhile, donations to East Harbor passed expectations so dramatically that Rachel Bennett stopped checking the total every hour. The center didn't merely survive. It expanded. A neighboring vacant unit became a classroom and wellness space. New equipment arrived. Local businesses sponsored memberships. Then Serena made an announcement. She was starting a free self-defense program. On the first Saturday, more than 60 people arrived. Serena stood before them wearing ordinary training clothes. "No one comes here to become dangerous," she told the class. Several people looked confused. You come here to become confident enough that you don't need to prove you're dangerous. Naomi watched from the doorway. That sounds familiar. Serena glanced at her. Good teachers steal from better teachers. Naomi smiled. Offers had arrived for her too. Promoters wanted interviews. Sports networks wanted retrospectives. One promoter offered Naomi an astonishing amount of money for a comeback exhibition. She declined everything. Leonard Price couldn't understand it. You know what people would pay to see Nightfall again? Naomi looked across the gym. A woman was learning to throw her first jab. A teenager was helping an older man wrap his hands. Serena was teaching someone how to break free from a wrist grip without hurting her partner. They're already seeing her, Naomi said. Leonard understood. Nightfall hadn't disappeared. She had simply found a different reason to fight. One evening, nearly a month after the fundraiser, Naomi was locking the front entrance when she saw a man standing outside. Brent Holloway. He wore jeans and a dark jacket. No uniform, no badge. Naomi stopped. Serena noticed him from across the gym. You want me to stay? Naomi shook her head. I've got it. She opened the door. Holloway didn't enter. For several seconds, neither spoke. Finally, he said, I came to apologize. Naomi waited. Not because of the investigation. She still said nothing. Holloway looked through the doorway at the renovated gym. I've spent weeks telling myself everybody overreacted. Naomi crossed her arms. And I watched the footage again. His voice became quieter. Without looking for reasons, I was right. That mattered. Not enough to erase anything, but it mattered. I was wrong, he said. Before the fight, during it, after it. Naomi studied him. What about Serena? Holloway nodded. Her too. And Rachel? Yes. The people who complained after the video? His eyes dropped. A long silence followed. Yes. Naomi nodded. Then tell them. He looked surprised. You don't want an apology? You just gave me one. Do you accept it? Naomi considered the question. I accept that you're apologizing. Holloway waited. That doesn't erase consequences. I know. Forgiveness and accountability aren't the same thing, Brent. He nodded slowly. I think I'm finally learning that. Naomi opened the door wider. Holloway looked inside. She didn't invite him in. Not yet. But she didn't slam the door either. That was enough. Later that night, Naomi and Serena stood alone inside East Harbor. The last students had gone home. Serena switched off half the lights. You ever miss it? She asked. What? The arenas. Naomi looked toward an old cardboard box on a bench. Inside was the pair of gloves she had worn during the fundraiser. Sometimes she missed the roar, but she didn't miss needing it. Naomi picked up the gloves and walked toward the wall. Serena followed. You finally putting the championship belt up? No. Why not? Naomi hung the gloves from a simple wooden hook. Beneath them, she placed a small plaque. Serena, read it. Strength means nothing without dignity. She smiled. No belt? Naomi shook her head. People don't need to know what I won. She looked across the gym. They need to know why this place exists. Outside, rain struck the repaired roof. Inside, nothing leaked. Naomi turned off another row of lights. She thought about the night Holloway threw gloves at her because he believed silence meant weakness. He had been wrong about her. Wrong about Serena. But the greatest victory hadn't happened when Holloway hit the canvas. It happened when people who had been afraid to speak finally realized their voices mattered. Serena opened the door. Ready? Naomi looked once more at the ring. Yeah. The sisters stepped into the Baltimore night together. Behind them remained a building that had nearly closed. Now its lights would come on again tomorrow. Not because a champion had proven she could fight, but because an entire community had remembered that dignity was worth defending. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who has nothing to prove. Naomi and Serena remind us that dignity doesn't require applause. And true justice isn't revenge, it is truth followed by accountability. Never mistake someone's restraint for weakness. Tell us what this story meant to you in the comments. And subscribe if you believe stories of courage and dignity deserve to be heard.